Hey everybody, welcome back to the 6th round post-fight show with me, Zane Simon, and my co-host, as always, Eddie Mercado. We're coming to you guys all just from the close of UFC 289, going down at the Rogers Arena in Vancouver, Canada, and a pay-per-view. I got a little hate online for tweeting out that we'd finished up the main event after Oliveira versus Darius, and that was time for the post-limbs. But then Irene Aldana went out there and looked as unready as I've seen anybody look for a title fight
since Megan Anderson fought.
Yeah.
Fought Amanda Nunes.
Yeah. Honestly, and even then, like, at least Amanda Nunes just kind of ran over Megan Anderson. That was what? That was
a mercy killing.
Yeah, that was 2 minutes. 2 minutes. Irene Aldana is tough enough that she just had to look really unready for the whole 25 minutes.
Yeah, and this was a makeshift fight, right? She wasn't even supposed to be in there, so she kind of got bumped up before she was ready. Didn't really have anyone on her resume that was in the top 5 or never faced this level of competition, and so
she had former title challenger Betch Kohea on that resume.
Yeah, my bad. How could I forget the elite move, Betch? Get out the way. She was just not ready for this, and it's Amanda freaking Nunes. So the way Aldana's been winning, like up kicks to the liver, like that shit ain't gonna fly with Nunes.
No,
everybody, like, we all knew that.
Yeah, it was one of those things where, like, I mean, there was a point, unfortunately, middle of the card. Somebody in our chat is asking, Evil Hamzat Chimaev. Let me see. Can I show what happened? Okay, there we go. There, I got it popped up on screen. Exactly what happens to women's featherweight now? It dies. That's what happens to women's featherweight now. Bea Malecki just tweeted out the other day that the UFC was trying to get her to stay at bantamweight, and they ended up cutting her out and just cutting her loose. Because Malecki said, I want to only fight at featherweight. And UFC's like, yeah, we're not really doing the whole featherweight thing.
So the more specific answer is it happens in the PFL. That's where 145 will happen.
Yeah. But women's featherweight, it in the UFC, it's gone. This has got to be the death now. Dana White has been looking for a chance to pull the trigger on that division for years, and this is the chance. But
honestly, this is the perfect time to do a tournament. I know the UFC just doesn't do that, but man, if there was ever a time to do a tournament, a women's bantamweight tournament, this is the time to do it.
It is. That was the other thing I was saying too. Coming out of this is just that, like, the UFC, Nunes retiring right now. Like, I know she had that whole thing about joking, like, I don't want to leave the title to Juliana Pena because I could beat her any day I want, and some fantastic petty disrespect in there that I can respect. But the truth is, she's leaving that division in complete shambles. Like, looking at the rankings here. Let me pull that up. I should have had it up already, but I didn't. Looking at the women's bantamweight rankings, and you got Juliana Pena, Raquel Pennington, Holly Holm, Ketlin Vieira, Irene Aldana, Yana Santos, Ni Kunitskaya is your 6th ranked bantamweight, and literally everyone on that list has lost to Amanda Nunes already, except for Ketlin Vieira, who couldn't get the chance to fight her because she couldn't beat Yana Kunitskaya and Raquel Pennington.
Dude, tournament. It has to be a tournament. That would be so much fun. There's no way to generate more interest than you would in a tournament. And I don't care how they do it. It could be the stupid, like 2 5-minute round thing. It could be spread out, real lame, and however. But just that's the only answer for women's bantamweight.
But you say that, and what they're gonna do instead is they're gonna feed us another women's bantamweight season of Tough, where all the women who go through it, one of them will get a title shot against Juliana Pena out of it, and then all the rest of them will just cut straight to women's flyweight like they do every single time the UFC tries to do a women's bantamweight season of Tough.
Man, that's so lame.
Yeah, they spent all this time after Rousey left. They basically tried to slow trickle build this division and add like one new face in every couple of years. And the result is you basically just have the same people that were around when Ronda Rousey was there.
Mm-hmm.
And it sucks, It was they took no pains at all to really build women's bantamweight, and the result is this title fight and a division left behind where, Juliana Pena probably is going to get the title next in a title shot with Raquel Pennington, I would have to assume. And then, 6 months from now, Amanda Nunes will be like, actually, I'm going to come back because I know I can beat I can beat Juliana Pena any day of the week. And she'll come back and she'll beat Juliana Pena and then she'll retire again.
I hope she stays retired, though.
Yeah.
Because honestly, I could have definitely done without this main event. Like the co-main was my main event, the people's main event, right?
Yeah.
So I was really kind of bummed on this fight. It was dominant, but only one fighter showed up.
Yeah.
But when she retired, I was like, yeah, okay, you're going out on top. That's like my ultimate goal. That's what I love to see because, we always watch our heroes get shit kicked. That's how this sport is. Everyone, unless you're George St. Pierre, you're not going out on top with the belt. You're just not. So this is and if you're a GOAT, like this is what I want.
Yeah.
You leave with your reputation intact, your legacy intact. And it's on her terms.
You can't
blame. Respect that, and I want to see it more.
You can't blame Nunes a bit for this. Like I say, it's on the UFC to have built a division around her that would survive her leaving it, and they haven't done that. That's not Amanda Nunes' fault. She absolutely should be packing it up right now and being like, "Look, I got my 2 belts. I got 15, however many years she's been in this game. God, when did she started 2008. So yeah, 15 years in the fight game as a pro, like done all the time, made all the money, won all the titles, time to leave. And more power to her. I hope that she has a really good retirement. I hope life treats her as well, if not better, going forward. And yeah, UFC just, if you're going to have this division, sign every single woman with a slightly okay record that competes there and figure it out. Yeah, we got a commenter asking, is Amanda Nunes retired? Yeah, she took her gloves off, all that, put the belts down, riding off into the sunset. All right. And yeah, on the other hand, DC at one point was talking about like, man, we were watching tape and you could see on paper, like, Irene Aldana could contend in this fight. She could be, and it's just like, no, if you were watching tape, this should have been your big fear, that Irene Aldana can't stuff a takedown and she only likes to fight off the back foot. So if all Amanda Nunes does, and if all Amanda Nunes does is fight off the back foot, or if all Irene Aldana does is fight off the back foot, all Amanda Nunes has to do is sit out there and fight from range and just pot shot. And if Aldana's not coming to her, then Aldana's not going to get anything done. And unfortunately, the other thing you could see on tape and in the octagon is that Aldana's footwork on the front foot was not good enough to chase Nunes down. So every time she did come forward, all Nunes had to do was just bait that little single leg And Aldana just about jumped out of her skin every time she tried that.
Yeah, oh yeah, she was definitely afraid. And here's what's crazy. In the very first round, Aldana landed that like beautiful counter, right? Like beautiful counter that staggers Amanda. Most like maybe even the biggest punch of the fight. Like period, that was even thrown. And like typically when someone lands a big punch like that early on, they kind of focus on that and almost not become one dimensional, but they look for it. They go to that well, you know, a little too often. But like the opposite happened with Aldana. She was like, "Oh shit, I poked the bear." And never again was she willing to just bite down and go to war and trust in her technique.
Yeah.
She just so gun shy, unprepared, and super respectful to a fault. You know, she was fighting the mystique of Nunes, not just Nunes.
Really did not look like she'd prepared anything specifically for her opponent at all. Like her game, as it always was going to lead her into this terrible fight, and she did nothing to change it up at all. All right, we got one more quick question. Somebody, you think Shevchenko might go for those belts after she gets hers back? And assuming she gets hers back, I mean, you know, Grasso's win was totally legit. Could happen again. She's no spring chicken. But yeah, it would be foolish for Shevchenko not to go up and go after Juliana Pena. Assuming Juliana Pena does win the belt next time up, she might not. She might not be able to beat Raquel Pennington. I don't know. But or Holly Holm, that would be the other obvious option to make.
Well, Shevchenko could cut the line.
Yeah, she could. It's true. They could just make they could just make Holm versus Shevchenko 2 or Holm versus Pena 2 and Pena and or Shevchenko versus Pena 2, and Shevchenko's beat both those women already, so it would be pretty foolish for her not to just run right back up and claim that second belt the first chance she gets. I mean, hell, even if she loses to even if she lost to Grasso again, just go be the bantamweight queen, you know? There's nobody up there that you can't beat. So, all right. Now let's talk about the co-main, which was fucking awesome. And Charles Oliveira, I was worried going into this. I don't know. Did you pick Oliveira?
I picked Beneil.
I was worried. I thought Beneil Darius can hang on top of Oliveira. If he gets on top of him, he can hang there. He's not going to be afraid. He can pressure. He can scramble with Oliveira. And if he does that long enough, he could wear Oliveira out. And we saw it. We saw that for a couple of minutes. Beneil Darius got right on top of Oliveira, was dinging him up with little short shots. Oliveira did not look, he wasn't getting anything done. There was no danger for Darius on top there until Oliveira got sick of being on the bottom. And then he's like, okay, well, I'm getting up. And then it's like, okay, wait a minute. There's a huge problem on the feet here for Beneil Darius. He being a step slower than Justin Gaethje is actually a huge problem for somebody fighting Charles Oliveira. And Oliveira made it really obvious that Darius, that speed issue was going to be absolutely devastating.
Man, it was crazy. It was like Darius's controller ran out of batteries or something. Like his blocker quit working, and he was just getting tagged over, just face blocking over and over. He got that
N64 controller where the middle stick was like, you know, how that always wore out first, that middle deep ad, and his was just like stuck. If you actually watched really carefully, he was stuck in a texture against the cage, and so he was just kind of, you know,
right. There's nothing he could do.
No, there's nothing he could do. He should get, like, you know, he should ask for a do-over, play that one back. But
that's nuts though, man.
Yeah.
Charles just stepped on the gas.
Yeah.
He just hit the accelerator, let his hands go. I never would have I expected if it was gonna be like that Darius was gonna bite down, return fire, and have the durability to outlast that kind of firefight.
Yeah,
no.
I thought
Holy shit.
In my mind, I picked Darius. In my mind, I was just like, Charles Oliveira is going to chew him up in the pocket. I know this. I can see it. I'm going to pick Oliveira to break him on the ground, and I'm going to pick Darius to break him on the ground. That's why I'm picking Darius, because he'll get on top. He'll win scrambles, and if he does that long enough, Charles will break down. And no, the vision of Charles in the pocket, I should have trusted that. That was where it all was. And yeah, it's just, I was watching tape from Darius out there, and I was watching him against Diego Ferreira and against Drakkar Klose. And I was like, he's just a little bit slower. He's got the will and the ability and the aggression to bite down against these guys who can't take the pressure he's putting on. But if I look at Justin Gaethje and I look at Dustin Poirier and I look at Islam Makhachev and I look at the people who have stood in the pocket with Oliveira and cracked him, Darius is just a little slower. And if he's just a little slower, that's a huge problem. Because Oliveira is a beast in there.
Man.
Yeah.
Everything he threw hurt, Darius. Yep. That was insane, man.
It really was. So, I mean, I know we just saw it, and I know he lost, but that fight did get me hyped for Charles Oliveira in Abu Dhabi against Islam Makhachev, too.
I'm here for it.
Yeah. Run it back. I'll see it again.
There's a lot of red tape, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I hate to even say it, but Conor McGregor will still get placed in any title fight at any given point.
Give me that bitter, terrible drink. The Conor McGregor, he is out there just in the ether. Sleeping mascots. He
will surpass anyone.
I know.
Straight to a title shot.
I know, but
because Makhachev versus McGregor in Abu Dhabi is a way bigger fight.
Yeah, I just don't think that there's any way right now with McGregor. I don't even know if he's in the pool yet. He's got till the 16th. If he wants to make December, and they want him to fight in Vegas at the end of the year, which is what I think is they're going to do if they're actually going to stick to this whole USADA 6 months thing. I know that they can bypass that any day they want, but for now, USADA and Dana White and McGregor are all pretending like they're going to business as usual as this whole thing. So if they want to get him on a card by the end of the year, on the last pay-per-view of the year, then I think he's got to be in USADA on the 16th of June. No later. And I still haven't heard anything about him officially being in the program yet. But yeah, I mean, if they think that they can make that fight in Abu Dhabi instead, then yeah, you always got to know that that's out there as, the bigger thing that they could do. I just think that they're probably going to.
You also have Poirier and Gaethje 2 happening. So the winner of that.
Yeah, I think
wins.
I think the turnaround from that, because that's like September. Is that August?
That's UFC 291.
Let's do UFC. I got to keep this all straight. Okay, you're right. That's July. End of July. So that would be 2.5 months turnaround, which it could happen. It would be really tight turnaround for a title fight.
Especially after like that kind of fight.
Yeah. Oliveira should be centered. He should be the guy. He put on the performance to be the guy. He's been it would be a big fight. Like if people showed up, I mean, our traffic for Bloody Elbow, the spike for when Charles Oliveira was fighting was big. Like, that was the big spike of the night. And people you could see in the arena, like, they're showing up. They're cheering for this dude. He's got love. Is it Conor McGregor love? No. But it's at least like Dustin Poirier, Justin Gaethje levels of love out there, I think.
Oh, yeah.
So,
I mean, Bronx he's the man.
Yeah.
Everybody loves him.
So,
Like, I don't think I've ever heard anyone like talk shit about him. Like, genuinely does.
No.
Like, I was like, oh, fuck him.
Yeah, who could hate this beautiful Brazilian man?
He is a man of the people.
He is. He is absolutely a man of people. He put on an absolute thriller. I don't think that the UFC, I don't think that Conor is going to do anything that gets him into that fight. Oh, we got a question. What does Oliveira do if he loses to Islam again, though? He goes and he fights Justin Gaethje or Dustin Poirier again, or, you know, fights Max Holloway or something. There are fights out there for him. Dude is shoot a box to the core. He is a born warrior who wants to go out there and have fights. Weight classes in mascot martial arts here. Okay. You gotta have cotton weight and
featherweight,
polyester weight,
beanbag
weight, and then Barney weight. I think Barney has got to be like your mascot king, right?
Well, what about like Grimace?
Oh,
right?
yeah. Or gritty weight. Gritty is
okay. Isn't that a dance? Isn't that something you hit? You hit the gritty?
It's a hockey mascot. I don't know. Okay. I don't know the dancing. I know the sports. This is a sports podcast.
Oh, is it?
We're here for serious,
ball sports. I could leave. I'm not.
All right. Let's jump down and talk about this welterweight fight. Mike Malott, Adam Fugitt, and this was it. I mean, it was a great showcase for Canada. Canadian fans got Canadian wins in Canadian places. You know, they did Canadian things. They had very Canadian things to say after they won. I think Mike Malott came out and he called down the Maple Leaf Militia. And I am worried because I am up here on the border. I am not ready to be on the front lines, Canadian bacon style, for this coming Cold War.
Oh, and shout out to Paul Felder, right? After a couple of the guys from Canada win, he's like, man, Canada's on fire. I'm just like, gee. Like, thank you, Paul Felder. It is, though. It's literally.
It is. Yeah, no, it is literally on fire.
The whole East Coast is getting smoked out.
But, this was just like, this was the fight it was booked to be for Mike Malott. I've been saying about Adam Fugitt for a while that he has the worst reactions to getting hit of pretty much anyone I've seen in the UFC. And he got hit with like one body kick at the start of the round and looked like he was about to throw up. And every time he gets hit, he just is like, it's a Patrick Cummins thing. Like, when you watch Patrick Cummins fight, nobody got hit as hard as Patrick Cummins got hit in fights.
Or like, who's that sassafras guy? Safarbank.
Safarov.
Yeah, that motherfucker, dude. Everything. Like, he would kick someone and hurt himself. He was that guy. But like reach down and be like, ow. Like, in the UFC. That's unheard of.
Yeah. That was so for a power puncher like Mike Malott, he's just gonna sit in the pocket and wing some hooks at people. It took him a little while to find that. You could see every time Fugitt would step in, he was looking for like a tricky little lunging counter, and it took him a round to get the timing on that. But once he did, it just absolutely wrecked Fugitt. So good win for.
Yeah, it was a club and sub number one. Number two, I should have known this was going to be cool because as Malott is walking out, the fucking banister collapses behind him, and like fans go spilling. It's like, what in the world? Like, Team Chaos.
Yeah. It was good night for Malott. He had he cut the promos. He had the fun interview after. I'm sure he got himself a big bonus out of this. And, yeah, fine. Not a pay-per-view fight. Just kind of a one-sided showcase for a fighter on the rise. But, yeah, it's what it is.
Yeah, there was only 3 pay-per-view fights on here. Let's be honest.
All right. We'll get to the other one of them right now then. Dan Ige, Nate Landwehr. And, this fight, I had hoped or thought that Dan Ige might put Landwehr away early. He's got the power. He's got the hands. Landwehr has that face-first defense that he loves so much. It's the reason he's built like an Easter Island statue at this point. I mean, he is, right? Like,
oh man. Anyways,
but
no, this was a different Nate the Train though. He was so reserved to a fault, and he didn't dance with the one that brought him. Like, you're not gonna go out there and out technique Dan Ige. Like, you need to go make it fucking ugly. It needed to be a dog fight. And Nate didn't bring the dog.
No, it's
a little bit in the third.
Yeah, well, that was just like the proof of concept here. It's like, oh yeah, you go after Dan Ige, you make him wear out a little, and then Dan Ige is coming out there in the end of the fight, and he's like, yeah, kind of gassed, not really that happy with the performance, but is what it is, kind of thing. And it's like, yeah, Landwehr, you needed to step on that from go, like. It's the same thing with Aldana Nunes. Like, you got these people like Ige and Nunes, they're front runners. They're out there. You give them a chance to get out ahead of you, they will stay ahead of you like crazy. You make them fall behind and have to catch up, they get tired,
Yeah.
But
Ige, man, coming up with knockdowns at the end of the first and the second.
Yeah.
That was so sweet. He tried everything he could to get the finish, but Nate was just being so fundamentally sound. I can't even believe I just said that. But, credit to him for growing as a fighter and I guess taking this fight seriously.
Yeah, and I mean, credit to him too. When he's lost in the past, it's been like first round knockout losses. So the danger for him of getting caught cold, getting wild, you can understand why he'd try to be reserved.
No, I get it. I totally get it. That's what I'm saying. He took this fight real serious, but he went a little too conservative, in my opinion.
Yeah.
He lives in the chaos. Like, he thrives in the chaos, and he takes some licks to initiate that chaos, but he does well in it. And that was his best chance of winning here, and he just didn't do it.
Yeah. Rough fight for him. Good fight for Dan Ige, though, and now we got to get him in there in the cage with Sadiq Youssef, right?
Fine with me.
Yeah, they're ranked right next to each other. That fight just seems...
I'm surprised they haven't fought yet.
Exactly. That fight just has to happen. So
that'll be a banger.
Absolutely. All right. Otherwise... middleweight bout, Marc-André Barriault, Eric Anders, and I really thought Anders could use that power he has, and the fact that he's throwing in combination now to take the fight to Barriault, but he got stung right out of the gate in this one, and that was kind of enough of a disaster just right there, because Barriault has become so busy and so high output at this point in his career that, like, him getting that first little jolt of momentum where it's like, oh, okay, I'm out in front of you now, and you got to try to catch up. Anders got plenty of his own shots in all fight, but he didn't win a round.
Mm-hmm. He came really close.
He came really close.
And I mean, he looked better in this loss than he has in some of his wins.
Yeah,
I'll be honest.
Both these dudes have improved a ton, which is why I was really excited for this one, honestly. Like, it wasn't a pay-per-view kind of fight, but it was like, hey, these are two dudes who've taken a lot of losses, but they've both learned how to fight from those losses. They've both improved every time. They've both upped their output. They've both become more technical getting there, and they haven't become less aggressive through being more technical, which is the big danger that, you know, what our good friend and my hateful co-host Connor Rebush calls becoming capital T technical, which is where you're like, oh no, I'm going to fight smart, I'm going to fight good, and that means I'm not going to do anything aggressive or offensive, or, you know, to do sort of the Landwehr thing where it's like,
or the Aldana thing.
Yeah, or the Aldana thing. It's like, oh no, I've got to be smart and I've got to be crafty and I've got to not fight. And it's just like, okay, no, that's, you've taken the wrong lesson here entirely. And
it's the Andre Arlovsky career.
Yeah. And Barriault and Anders, that's not what they've been doing. They've both just been getting better. And Barriault, like, he has crafted himself for a dude who was barely clinging on to a UFC contract for quite a while. He's turned himself into a mainstay middleweight, you know?
Yeah, this was not an easy fight. And
no.
For him to stay within himself, stay composed, even when things were getting a little hairy, because the pressure for Anders was immense.
Yeah.
I mean, he used to be this guy that just had this powerful left hand who would just sit at range looking for that. And now he's someone who wants to mix it up and make things ugly on the inside, throwing elbows, throwing knees. I mean, he really
steps in and he throws in combination. And a dude that powerful as he is and like that strong as he is, that's dangerous, you know?
Yeah. Solid fight.
Yeah, solid. It's a good time. Fun fight. Middleweight bout. Nasruddin Imavov, Chris Curtis. No contest. Accidental clash of heads. I gotta say, the obvious take here is, oh, the UFC should run it back. We should do it again. We didn't get to see the fight, really. I kind of feel like I got to see the fight, and I wasn't really enjoying it that much.
This is Leon Edwards versus Bilal Muhammad.
Yeah.
I saw enough to know the tail of the tape there. Like,
yeah. Imavov was just too big for Curtis. He was just too big. He could be outside and sit down on a 1-2, and Curtis couldn't reach him that easily to get back at him. And he could get in, tie up with him, and take him down. And Curtis couldn't shuck him off. It's just too big and too strong. And I don't really, you know, like, book Imavov against who did I have in here? Book Imavov against Kelvin Gastelum. Get that Kelvin Gastelum fight that they tried to book several times going. And book Chris Curtis against, I don't know, like who's the big Georgian guy? Delidsey or something.
Yeah, that's fun. That's a ton of fun.
Yeah.
Or Derek Brunson. You know, I'm always down for that.
Yeah. Yeah, there are other fights for these people to take. All right. That brings us to a women's flyweight bout. Jasmine Jasudavicius, Miranda Maverick. And
this one hurt my heart, man.
Yeah, because Maverick's she's part of your squad, right?
I like Miranda, yeah.
Team Miranda. It's been a building It's clear that like the camp change and all that kind of threw her into a relearning things, figuring my game out, getting, you know, figuring other tools out. But that process has turned out to be a bit of a rough one, you know.
Yeah, this fight, man. She started out really well. You know, she was looking really, really good, but Jasmine just turned it on. You know, she really got her MMA on here, and she was comfortable fighting on the feet. She was comfortable wrestling, winning the grappling exchanges, which shocked me. I'm gonna be honest with you. I thought Miranda was gonna be able to hang a lot better on the ground than what she did.
She's always struggled when put on her back in fights. She's lost some fights with that in the past. You know, certainly I know Blanchfield's kind of a cut above at this point, but Blanchfield just kind of ran her over with wrestling in their bout. And Jasudavicius, she's actually, you know, she's a really good top control grappler when she can get there. That was My big danger I was picking Maverick just like you. My big concern going in there was that Jasudavicius fights much more like she knows exactly what she wants to do out there. She knows not the fastest, not the hardest hitting, not the most dynamic. I need to go out there. I need to pressure. I need to brawl. I need to clinch. And I need to hit takedowns. And Maverick has been out there kind of floating around. And, she's trying to figure out, okay, like I want to strike like this, or do I want to be elusive and defensive? Do I want to be do I want to punch with power, be a bully? What am I trying to do? I'm not sure. She's just kind of in that middle distance of trying to figure her fight out. And while she was doing that, Jasudavicius was just marching her down and beating her. And I thought that she could overcome that just with the natural athleticism and talent that she clearly has, but the confidence isn't there. And without the confidence,
I don't know if it's confidence as much as direction.
Yeah.
Like she's, like you said, she's changing camps, trying to go from someone who she's doing Muay Thai or she's doing wrestling or she's doing jiu-jitsu to someone who's doing MMA, right? Actually blending everything and coming up with an overall game. And there's going to be growing pains. That's just the way it is. And this was a hard loss because this was a winnable fight.
Yeah.
She was so dominant in that first round. And like people, the commentators were dick riding again in the third round. Like, oh, Maverick needs a finish. No, she just needs to, she dominated that first round.
Yeah.
Jasudavicius did nothing the first round, not a thing. And so, she kind of fell apart because I just don't, like you were saying, she doesn't really have, I'm not saying she doesn't have a game plan, but she just doesn't have a base style.
She doesn't know exactly what she's trying to put on somebody. It's that thing where, like I said, Jasudavicius, she knows like the striking pushes the pressure, pushes the clinch, pushes the takedown, pushes the top game. And Maverick, it's sort of like, oh, my striking is out here, and I'm just going to try to feel this out and see what comes up and see what's open for me. And it's not the assertiveness isn't there to be like, because even if you want to have that kind of floaty striking style, there has to be a building. Like, you got to look at Max Holloway and be like, oh, okay, well, I got to start with my jab and my kicks, and I got to layer them, and I got to build combos off that, not just sitting out here being like, oh, I'm going to feel things out. It's no, I have a structure of the fight that I'm going to turn into a striking style that you have to deal with all the time.
Yeah.
So
growing pains
are real, man. All right. That brings us to a bantamweight bout. Ayman Zahabi, Ari Chilang, and man, like Zahabi suddenly on a 3-fight win streak here. If he fought more than once per year and wasn't 35, I'd be thinking like, time for him to make a run at something. But at this point, he just needs to take like a big step up, fight. I think fight like Douglas Da Silva or something,
Well, he graduated from the Gunnar Nelson School of Frequency, right?
Yeah, man.
Yeah, sure. Give him a step up.
Yeah.
Or not. If I was him, I'd probably only fight in Canada and only fight guys I could beat.
Yeah. Just fight once a year, fight the bottom of the roster all the time, get that paycheck, go back to the gym, do your coaching thing, get that GSP money. And
right.
Yeah, it's just, this was great to see from him because that Tercios fight he won was actually abominable, was abysmal, a terrible fight.
Sure.
And so it was good to see him go out there and just be aggressive, be on the front foot and be like, no, I'm just going to outpunch this dude. I'm not going to sit here and watch him stomp his feet and go, ha, and just like circle him for 3 rounds.
Yeah. And what's crazy is Zahabi, he's super tech, right? but he's not athletic at all.
No.
So for him to step on the gas the way he did in the most unathletic, like the goofiest knockout you'll ever see, like you will not see a goofier 1 minute and 4 second knockout. You can
it's true.
But he got it done. You know,
Yeah.
he threw it. He believed in himself, and I think you know, belief goes a long way.
I mean, that's what we're talking about with the Maverick Jasudavicius thing. You know, the hobby came out there and he's like, oh, no, this is the fight I'm going to have. And you assert it. You step on the gas. You go for your fight. And
look at the structure he's got around him.
Yeah.
Holy shit. I don't know if there's more structure. Maybe,
no kidding.
You know, the Nurmagomedovs, maybe that's probably a little more strict, but
yeah. No, it's true. All right. That brings us to a featherweight bout. Kyle Nelson, Blake Bilder, continuing the theme of an all-Canada, well, starting the all-Canada night, really, because he was the first Canadian on the card, although I think, was it Bellbita who also had moved to Canada recently?
Yep.
Yeah.
Bellbita.
But Kyle Nelson, he kind of derailed Blake Bilder here. I don't know. This was probably felt very much like a prospect loss for Bilder, where he's been so used to feeling himself and so used to having big advantages that he can always lean on. And Kyle Nelson loses a lot of fights, so he's an easy dude to overlook. But he is actually really strong and really physical and really capable.
He's just dog.
The problem is usually that he just kind of melts down if he gets pushed too far. And Bilder's out there like, oh, I'll just have a range, slow-paced striking battle with you. And it's like, okay, well, Kyle Nelson can do that for 15 minutes.
Well, it was working at first because he was pressuring, right? Because, like you said, he was feeling himself, like at first, until he got rocked in the first round. And then he had that look like, oh, this isn't fun anymore. Like, that hurt. Like, I'm dazed. And from there, the pressure waned. And when he was coming forward, that's when Nelson was squirmish and looked uneasy, looked uncomfortable. But the second Bilder got rocked and let off that pressure, Nelson felt more comfortable, started setting things up, started attacking the legs, and Bilder just couldn't climb out of the hole he let himself get into.
I'm happy for Nelson. Everything I've seen from this dude, he seems like a nice guy. He has had a hell of a rough run in the UFC. I'm shocked, honestly, that they kept him on for so long. This is a dude who jumped into the UFC with 2 straight stoppage losses to Matt Sales and Carlos Diego Ferreira, won a quick fight over Polo Reyes, and then had 2 more losses, another stoppage, and then a decision to Jai Herbert, probably the only person who's ever lost to Jai Herbert by decision. And I would have thought that would be the end. Then he comes and gets that draw against Doo Ho Choi, and it's like, okay, yeah, you kind of got that, I guess. And so I'm really happy to see him actually come out here and take on a prospect who honestly has some good momentum behind him, looked like a pretty good prospect in Blake Bilder, and just go out there and remind people that, he's been doing this forever and he's got a well-trained style. He's not a bad fighter. He's just usually his own tenseness gets to him and it causes him to crumble. And Bilder didn't, as you say, after Bilder got caught, he didn't do anything to make Nelson tense again. And, it's the rough Bilder in that. It was a very similar situation to the Miranda Maverick fight for Blake Bilder, where it's just like, you got to have more dedication and direction in your fight than this. You can't, if you're this great grappler and great wrestler and you're trying to lean on your striking because you're fast and you've got some power, like nothing's flowing into anything. You got caught out and now you're stuck.
Well, it's like the once bitten, twice shy.
Yeah.
He tasted that power and he was like, I don't want to get close enough to get hit again. So I'm not going to push the pace because that fucking hurt.
Yeah.
And
great.
He's got to, but you can't just you have to have contingency plans.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Plan A, come forward, bring the pressure. Okay, that's not working right now. What do you do? Just standing at range, getting picked apart is not the answer.
No. So I still think, there are good things out there potentially for Blake Builder, but if nothing else, he's got to get a striking coach he can listen to. Because they were like screaming at him while he's like shimmying around and like trying to mime the confidence that he should have, and like you got to get somebody that you believe when they tell you to go for it.
Or maybe it's an internal thing. He's
Yeah.
like, I'm not fucking going for it. You just see
Well,
me
that's what I'm
get
saying.
rocked. I'm not going. But that might not be a coach thing. That might be like in him. Like,
yeah,
maybe you can scare him off.
It's definitely in him no matter what. You just got to find the coach that'll break you. You got to get Henry.
Exactly. That's what I was about to say.
You got to get Henry Hooft out there to be his disappointed father figure in the corner.
Oh, yeah. Or maybe Devin Clark's dad's available.
Yeah, Devin Clark's dad. Yeah, there we go.
Just for cornering.
Yeah.
Doesn't even have to corner. He can just sit front row.
Mm-hmm. All right, that brings us to a flyweight bout. Stephen Erceg, David Dvorak, and honestly, really strong performance from Erceg. A lot stronger than I would have guessed watching his fights coming in, where I was kind of like, okay, you've got a fun grappling game. You can scramble. I like it. It's flyweight level scrambling. But I'm not seeing much of any kind of striking game here to believe in. And he came out, and it's a good reminder, he's huge. He's like 5'9" for a flyweight. But he was also really confident and comfortable getting picked at by Dvorak and just being like, you know what? It's fine if you hit me 20 times and I only hit you 10, because those 10 are going to hurt a lot more. And if you're going to be big and you're not going to be a great natural striker, that's the right attitude to have, Be the bully.
I was impressed with that composure also.
Yeah.
He looked like he'd been there. He looked like he's had 20, 30 fights. Just that confidence, and it was insane. And that leg battle they had early on, that was nuts. They were just lighting up each other's legs, just crafty, just exchanges. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was.
This was an overproduction. I mean, you're coming in, you're an unknown, taking on someone ranked, and you fucking kicked him in the head in one of the coolest moments of the night.
Yeah.
Dvorak was doing something. Maybe he was swinging too, but it landed perfectly. As he's trying to do something.
Yeah, Dvorak was stepping in on a hook, I think, and I mean, Dvorak was stepping in enough that Erceg slipped as he threw the kick, but it still came up over the shoulder and just clipped Dvorak.
It was beautiful.
And you could see it too in this fight. Like, Dvorak's good. If it wasn't for the power, honestly, Dvorak very well could have won this fight. He was doing a lot more of the good work moment to moment, minute to minute. He was not getting out scrambled by Erceg early on. He was landing his shots. He was making everything work, but Erceg's got power. And, right now he looks a lot like Askarov, where it's just like, oh yeah, you're big and you can hit pretty hard and you're willing to hang in there with people and make things tough on them and get them into some grappling battles and some fun fights. So I'll be interested to see what he can do with that.
Yeah, he seems like a lot of fun and durable and huge.
Yeah.
And, anyone that's going to chew up the calf, I'm here for.
Yeah, just match him up with anybody in the bottom half of the top 15. It doesn't even, they're talking like, oh, you should get a quick step up and all that. Like, just another top. You can match him up with Tim Elliott right now. I'd watch that. You could match him up with Bruno Silva. Just some other ranked flyweight. Get him in there and make it happen.
Well, Matt Schnell was supposed to fight Dvorak, wasn't he?
Yeah,
this guy. Maybe just book him against Schnell.
Sure. Yeah. Erceg, though, great showing from him. All right, and finally, that brings us to our opening bout of the night: Diana Bellbita, Maria Oliveira, and man, Maria Oliveira really should not have taken that time out of camp to go be on a reality TV show.
You don't think so?
She did not look ready for this fight.
Well, I don't know if she was going to win it anyways, so I'm glad she got the money for doing the reality show.
I doubt they paid her very much at all. I mean, maybe she got the exposure. That reality TV stuff. If you don't win, they don't send you home with much.
Yeah, but maybe who knows?
Yeah, fair enough.
But man, remember last week we had someone Silva drop back for that the ankle lock, and she exploded the knee, and it was just brilliant. Yeah. It was perfect and gorgeous, and we were praising how awesome that was. And then Oliveira here has top position, gets a takedown, and then for no fucking reason drops back for the worst ankle lock I've ever seen. So
100% when keeping it real goes wrong moment.
This is like this wasn't even like a straight ankle lock. This was like a contingency plan for a straight ankle. So when like the straight ankle doesn't work, you switch to the rear naked choke grip on the ankle. And sometimes maybe that'll work because it's only a pain thing. You're not breaking anything. Usually you're not going to break something. Oliveira ain't breaking shit with it. So that was just a silly move. I'm shocked that anybody ever tried that. Asinine.
But then she also just was gassed pretty much immediately after that.
Yeah, man, her defense was scaring the shit out of me, dude. She would just lean back.
I mean,
she just leaned back. Not even.
She had the speed advantage over Bellbita that she didn't have. Like, she didn't have to lose this fight. You can see, like, late in the third round, she's gassed. She's been fighting terrible all this time. She goes out and she hits like 3 flying knees just for the hell of it. It's like, okay, clearly you could win this fight if you'd actually trained for it, but it does not look like you trained for it at all.
I don't think she's experienced enough. Like I'm saying, I don't think one training camp is what did it in. I think she's just not.
Well, Maria Oliveira's she's been fighting for a while.
Well, she doesn't fight like it.
No, I don't think she takes it very seriously, you know.
Yeah, I don't think a training camp is going to make a difference. I don't expect to see vast improvements from her. I think, this was going to happen no matter what.
I don't know. I think the natural athleticism is there for her to be a better fighter. She, she's beat people that Diana Bellbita couldn't beat, but the lack of focus on MMA is clearly just. It doesn't seem like she's got any.
She still hasn't beat anybody.
No, she hasn't beat anybody good, but Diana Bellbita hasn't beat anybody good. This is the best win of Diana Bellbita's career.
Yeah, and that's another thing. Like, so she's been at this for 8 years, right? Talking about Oliveira. It's like it's not. She fights like someone who's been doing this for 3 years.
Yeah. Super
regional feel. And I don't have high hopes.
No, I wouldn't either. I think if the problems have not been corrected yet, they're not about to be corrected. Anyway, we're spending way too much time talking about prelim. Go back to the main event. Amanda Nunes, Irene Aldana. That fight is in the books. Nunes is retired. We've got a triumvirate of challengers that nobody really cares about right now in Raquel Pennington, Holly Holm, and Juliana Pena.
And maybe Shevchenko.
Shevchenko would be foolish not to see herself in among that group. And yeah, like you said, if the UFC had the guts, this would be the time to run a tournament. But they're not going to do that. They're going to book somebody for a vacant title, probably for a late, maybe for the MSG card, maybe for that end of the year December card as a co-main event. I'm sure. A bigger
or
fight.
they'll do something where the co-main event is an absolute banger, people's main event, and then they'll stick it at
and they're banking on having that John Jones title fight for later this year if they can convince Stipe Miocic to fight again. And they're banking on having, like I said, I think they're banking on having McGregor versus Chandler for December. And both those fight cards, you throw another title fight under that, then you basically guarantee a bunch of eyes for a fight that people wouldn't otherwise care about.
Man, it's unfortunate that the UFC is it's Transformers, right? It's Fast and the Furious 9. It's the same shit over and over, and they're not going to fuck with the format to make it more fun, no matter what.
Yeah, they figured out what makes them a ton of money, and they're sticking to it. Anyway, all told, I mean, you can't. The Oliveira Darius was awesome. Mike Malott put on a show. Ige Landwehr was decent. Barriault Anders was quite good. It doesn't all make a pay-per-view though. Like it had a terrible main event, and everything else on there. Outside, even including the Oliveira Darius fight, like you take the main event off this pay-per-view, and it's a fine fight night. It's a normal fight night card,
right?
Yeah,
it's Canada's got to be pissed. They're on fire. The UFC comes with this bullshit, and they threw them a pizza party. They came to Canada and threw a fucking pizza party, and they're like, okay, all your guys are gonna win. You'll see Nunes retire. Eat your fucking pizza.
It's an exchange rate, though. In Canada, this is a very good card. Like,
exchange rate.
Yeah. It's $1.50 in the US, but in Canada, it's like $5. So,
yeah, that's fine. We'll see what your stars are in our bonus content.
All right. On that note, we're going to wrap this up. For those of you subscribing to our Substack, and you all should be paying subscribers, we're going to jump over and we're going to do a quick bonus show for our podcasts. For those of you who aren't subscribers, then you'll see us next week back here doing another video show, live show. And you can find me on Twitter in the meantime at Zane Simon. You can find Eddie on Twitter at Eddie Mercado. You can find both of us day in and day out, literally constantly on BloodyElbow.com. Thanks everyone for tuning in, and we'll see you later.